Hi and welcome to all the viewers joining us for this preview. On the line will be Graham Hawkins from Cape Town. He'll be joining us for the meeting at Hollywoodbets Durbanville. So we are racing at Durbanville, which is around the turn. So take note of those draws in the sprint races. Let's introduce Graham. Graham, how are you doing? And tell us a bit about the weather in Cape Town.
Morning, Sheldon. It's great to be with you again. Yes, it's cooled down considerably in Cape Town. The weather turned yesterday, Sunday. We're recording this show Monday morning, and it's very cloudy. It's much cooler, but very pleasant. A welcome change from the heat of summer.
Excellent. Let's get straight to the business at hand. We'll kick off with race number 1. That is over 1,000 meters, a juvenile plate, where number 3, Articuno, is 22 to 10. And your other bipot selection, you got number 2, Blue Holly, who's priced up at 11 to 2. Those are your top 2 horses for the bipot. Looking at the favorite, Articuno, there's been a horse called Winter Cloud and the Charleston who've both come out to win 2, and then Raskova's also come out to win. So the form line looks pretty solid.
Solid debut effort for number 3, Articuno. Was well backed, so a good run was expected. Was backed in from 7 to 1 to 4 to 1. So they were expecting a good run, and therefore we're entitled to expect a lot more improvement. Didn't finish the race off, but as you say, the form line has worked out really well. But my top choice would be number 2, Blue Holly. I think at 5 to 1, Ashton Aries reunites with the daughter giving the green light. Her form over 1,000 meters is very, very good. On debut, 5th behind Winter Cloud. As you've mentioned, Winter Cloud has gone on to do big things. Then in its next start, beaten a length and a quarter over 1,000 meters by the Charleston. The Charleston has come out to do big things. And in that race, the third horse was 5 lengths behind them, and that was Sidley, who came out to reverse the form over 1,200 meters. I had a chat with Glenn Cotton because I thought her last assurance was just too bad to be true. And he assures me, look, she's very clearly a 5-furlong specialist. She'll go well at Hollywoodbets Durbanville. She's drawn in gate 2. Her 2 best runs have been with Ashton Aries, so she'll go well over this track and trip. But clearly, number 3, Articuno, warrants respect. And then you've got the likes of number 8, Unconquerable Lady, that can improve a lot, and number 9, Highly Confidential, that can also improve a lot. But I'm going with number 2, Blue Holly, to beat number 3, Articuno. And I think 2 and 3 would be enough for the first leg of the bipot.
Moving on to race number 2, which is over 1,400 meters. So the juveniles will be going around the turn, which is always a little bit tricky, and the draw could play in their favor. You're going with horses 1 and 6. Number 1, Warm White Knight, is at 22 to 10. 6, Lily in the Nile, is 5 to 2. So at the betting, there's not much to separate them. Which is your preference?
Yeah, this is a lot more tricky. I'm only going with numbers 1, Warm Winter Night, and 6, Lily of the Nile in the bipot. But this is the first time the juveniles go over 1,400 meters this season. So they're all stepping up. They're all going to Hollywoodbets Durbanville for the first time in their career. So I'm a lot less confident about leg 2 of the bipot than I am about leg 1 of the bipot. But all of that being said, Warm Winter Night ran a very nice race first time out, and we'll have to see how she copes with how he copes with the extra 400 meters. This time around is drawn in pole position. That's in his favor. I think Lily of the Nile would be my slight preference. Grant Finicker taking the ride. 2-year-old daughter of Erupt also ran against Winter Cloud on debut and then behind Raskova. And as we mentioned with the previous race, those form lines have worked out extremely well behind those kind of horses. But if there was to be a surprise in this race, I wouldn't be totally bewildered. Number 3, Streets Have No Name, a 2-year-old son of Rafif, has scope for improvement, as does number 8, Prince of Denmark. The depth of quality in this race is probably not as good as the first, but I'm going to rely on 1 and 6 to get me through. 1,400 meters, first time for the juveniles this season. Watch the latest betting. I know you can't for the bipot, but certainly for the place accumulator. Watch them go to the gates before finalizing your selections. It's going to be an interesting race, but it's not going to take a lot of winning, I don't think.
Then we move on to race number 3. They're sticking with the 1400-meter trip, and judged by your numbers, you don't trust this race. You've gone with 4 runners in the bar pot. At the early stage of recording, scratched as Sea of Flames. So take out number 8, Sea of Flames. That'll be 1 less participant. Now, just looking at the stats from the last 382 races over the course and distance, draw number 1 has seen the majority of winners, and that favours number 1, Mary Lamb, from the Richard Fourie stable with Justin Snaith. This is an individual, the daughter of Dynasty. They've tried a couple of distances with Mary Lamb. Where would the daughter of Dynasty be in your picking order?
Yeah, she's got to have a chance. As you quite rightly said, I don't trust this race. It's an open handicap maiden, so, varying weights. Last time out, Anna Karenina surprised everybody at 50 to 1 by running second to estimated, when Mary Lamb was confidently backed into 9 to 10 in the same race and finished in 7th position, but only a length behind Anna Karenina. Mary Lamb's drawn gate 1, Anna Karenina's drawn gate 7, so you could argue that Mary Lamb could well finish in front of number 7, Anna Karenina. But Mary Lamb was so disappointing last time when heavily backed. We were looking for a further improvement on her previous 2 starts. So I don't know if she can be trusted. So you're quite right. I'm going quite wide in this race. All of numbers 1, Mary Lamb. Number 5, Go Like Flow. Number 7, Anna Karenina. And despite a wide draw, I think there's a bit of value to be had about Lucinda Woodruff's runner, number 10, Eliodoro. She needed her last run for almost a year, over 1,200 meters. We're not faring too badly behind the agent's muse. Her previous form gives her a big chance. She's been at this course before. She's run second at this course, but the draw is not in her favor. But I'm expecting a lot of improvement in a very weak lineup. Eliodoro, and even number 12 on board, who's drawn further out, has got a chance. So I think it's a trappy little race. Mary Lamb is the weak favorite. Go Like Flow, the second choice in the market. They have strong claims, but yeah, I don't trust the race, as you quite rightly pointed out.
That'll take us on to the halfway stage, so we'll step into the territory for race number 4. I see you've gone a banker here, number 6, Port Louis, and just looking at Port Louis, currently trading 3 to 1 the field, and Port Louis is at 3 to 1 for the Brett Crawford stable. When you look at this son of Gimme the Green Light, seems to be lethal over the distance.
Very good form over the distance, and I think still very progressive. Yes, he's been raised to 110 following his last win over Future Prince. In that race, Tudafe was back in 3rd position, so Tudafe is clearly better off at the weights. But I think Port Louis got something about him. If you look back on his feature race form and his earlier form, he's beaten Royal Aussie, came out to win the Gold Rush. He ran ahead second At My Command. We know what he's done. He ran second in the Langerman to Light Speed. He beat Kaya's Hope, who's a multiple feature race winner. He's run 3rd under a length over this course and distance behind Silvano's Dasher. He's run close to Charles Dickens, close to Cousin Casey. So he deserves his rating, and he's lethal, as you said, over the distance. I think despite the turnaround in the weights, he'll confirm the form with number 7, Tudafe. But that all being said, clearly the others in good form. One Sun Dazed loves this course and goes well over the course and distance as well, and is drawn in pole position, handily weighted with 54, so you can't ignore Sun Dazed. Quintus Light is well there in the betting market for Richard Fourie and Justin Snaith. Got an awkward draw and has yet to win over the distance, but she might well be old enough now to get the 1,400 meters. Mr. Master Starter does appear to have some scope for improvement from an inside gate gains with Echo of Life. Those kind of horses can surprise. But I'm happy to bank at number 6, Port Louis. I think he's still got a lot more to come. I think he found his winning form last time out, and I think he will follow up.
Let's move on to race number 5, which is over 1,600 meters. The due time is 15:05. You need to get your bets on. On screen, you can see the horses, the trainer, and the jockeys all on screen for you to see. Now, Graham, I'm going to touch on a horse who I chatted to you last time about, number 8, Chaliman, at around 12 to 1. I'm hoping that he can bounce back to his better form. He's a horse who's got the ability, and you did mention last time out that he has done well over a mile. I just thought 12 to 1, he might be a nice horse to have a little bit of an each-way bet and throw into all of the exotics. How would you rate Chaliman in this lineup?
I always respect your judgment, and I know that you continue to follow horses until they reward you, and there's nothing wrong with that. And he continues to drop in the ratings. Yes, despite dropping to 92 from 95, 98, 100 before that, he's still got 60 kilograms to carry. Sheldon, I actually quite fancy following the Glenn Cotson stable. I've already declared my hand in the 2 juvenile races. I think he can win both of the 2 juvenile races. I think he can win the feature race. We'll get to that in a moment. So it wouldn't surprise me to see Chalima running well. I think the Glenn Cotson stable, I may be way off the mark, of course. After the meeting, I say, what was I thinking? But I think the stable to follow on Tuesday at Hollywoodbets Durbanville could well be Glenn Cotson. There are a lot of value horses coming from his stable that are running. But this is a tricky race. So he's got as good a chance as any. Again, I've gone pretty wide as far as the bipod is concerned, including all of numbers 1, Lion's Head, who hasn't won for 657 days, but has drawn pole position. I'm including number 3, Solar Power. He's in good form. He's won 2 of his last 3 starts, and we saw Wiccan Warrior come out to win at Hollywoodbets Greyville yesterday from that last form line. Future Swing on a hat-trick. Chalima, you've mentioned. Steinbeck has been so costly to follow and so disappointing, but he never runs a bad race, so it keeps you interested all the time. But he's got the worst of the draw to overcome. So it's a tough race. It's a Class 3 handicap over 1,600 meters. You could well be right with Chalima. I have no confidence selections in race number 5. I would say number 3, Solar Power, from a handy draw, might follow up on his last win and moved it my narrow first choice.
They've heard it straight from Graham Hawkins. Glenn Cotson is the stable to follow, and I hope his horses all do it for us on the day. And in particular, Chalima, I hope runs a decent race at a decent price. That'll take us on to race number 6, which is due off at 1540. This is the listed Hollywoodbets Durbanville Cup over 2,400 meters. And Graham, this is for the horses that are looking for the staying trips, the 2,400 and upwards. So those horses who enjoy these distances, they're going to be effective. How do you dissect race number 6? I see you've gone with 1, 3, and 7 in your bipod.
Okay, so before I get to the Glenn Cotson pair, let me talk about the horse that is really going to put his hand up in a big way, and that's number 1, Master Redoubt. He ran a very good 5th in the Western Cape Stayers over a further distance, 2,800 meters last time. You go back in his form line, he ran 2nd to Navy Strength over 2,500 meters, and he was close behind Han Solo, who he meets here in the Algoa Cup. Han Solo won the Algoa Cup. Now, Master Redoubt, there's no stamina doubts, whereas Han Solo, who is actually my first choice, and we'll get to him in a moment, has yet to prove that he gets this trip. But if you look at Master Redoubt against Senso Unico and Silver Host, they ran on top of each other in the Western Cape Stayers. If you look at Silver Host, he was 4th, a length and a quarter behind Salvatore Mundi. Senso Unico was 3rd, under a length behind Salvatore Mundi. And Master Redoubt was 5th, just a half a length behind this. He's now 6 kilograms, a full 6 kilograms better off with Senso Unico and Silver Host. So I've got to say this, that Master Redoubt, I know races are not run on paper, they're run on turf, and he's still got to go out there and do it. But Master Redoubt surely has got to have the measure of Senso Unico and Silver Host at these weights. So he goes in. But I do think that the Glenn Cotson pair are going to run well, and one of them is quoted at 14-1. I think Han Solo will stay the trip. He still has to prove that, but he runs well at this course. He's at 3 seconds from 5 starts. He's yet to win at Hollywoodbets Durbanville. Well, he actually has won, but he lost the race in the boardroom. So he's a pretty decent sort. He's handily weighted with 57.5. It is clearly an open race. The spread of weights here is 12 kilograms from 62 Silver Host all the way down to Flowers are gone at 50. So the pace, the weight spread, all of these things are going to play into the outcome. But I think Han Solo will go well. Does have Master Redoubt to beat. But Flower of Saigon, Glenn Cotson's other runner, she stays all day. She's got 50 kilograms on her back. And as I wrote in my article for the newspaper, I know there's no room for sentimentality in professional sport, but wouldn't it be great to see Josh Solomons win this race? I know he had the worst nightmare in the Jetmaster Stakes at Kwazi for sure. You wouldn't wish that on anybody. He's a young kid with a bright future. He's a talented rider. And before he goes on his 3-month suspension, I really hope I'll be riding with him on Flower of Saigon, and she's the rank outsider at 14-1. I don't think that's a fair reflection of her chances. Off the weight, she's got to have a big chance. But at the end of the day, those are my top 3. But there isn't a result that would entirely surprise me.
I share your sentiments. We'll also be screaming home Josh Solomons just to give him that confidence back. As you mentioned, you wouldn't wish that on anybody, and it is what it is, and hope that he can come through and provide the upset. And for those who include, hopefully they'll go through all the exotics. On to race number 7, which will be run over 1,000 meters. Number 4, Love and Winter, an exciting prospect, is unbeaten from 4 racecourse appearances. More importantly, is 2 from the course. So, Graham, you'll know a lot more about Love and Winter.
Yeah, look, he's got all the right credentials. As you say, it's always a big advantage. We return to the country course for a few meetings in a row, and previous winning form at this course is always a good thing to see on a horse's CV. And they've got to have pace, and generally, as you mentioned, you've got to be well drawn. So he's got the course and distance form. He's well drawn in gate number 4. He's unbeaten 4 from 4. So it's been to my detriment that I've tried to beat him in his last 2 starts, I have to say. So I'm a bit in a quandary. I tried to beat him in his last 2 starts, and he won narrowly. I was on Tchaikovsky when he beat Tchaikovsky a short head, and I was on Sundays when he beat Sundays 3/4 of a length. So, Sheldon, what do I do now? Do I stay trying to beat him, or do I change course and go with him? It's a very, very tough race because there are many with form. Trivial Matter is drawn in gate 1, is also course and distance suited. Mufasa found winning form, beating Tchaikovsky. Tchaikovsky is in this race, but he's yet to win at Hollywoodbets Durbanville. And Bluff and Bluff is 1 from 1 at Hollywoodbets Durbanville. Got an awkward draw, but a low weight. And Ryan Munger rides for Pit Stain. So there's a lot of form to go around. I'm expecting you could throw a blanket over these horses at the finish. But yes, my top choice, I'm gonna row in this time with number 4, Love in Winter, to get home ahead of number 1, Trivial Matter. But it doesn't end there, and there are many with chances. It's a very good race, and it should be a hard-fought affair.
So the name of the game is gambling and racing, and you heard Graham, he's gone against Love and Winter the last 2, so we'll throw Trivial into the exactas and box the exactas, and if Love and Winter does manage to hold on and Trivial comes through to run into second with a cracking run, or vice versa, we'll take those exactas boxed. Moving on to the 8th and final race. Now, Graham, I'll leave the floor to you. You can see the horses on the screen there, all the viewers. Number 1, Distinction. You got Hunting Trip, Shantastic, a horse like Hear My Voice, Mulberry Street. How do we structure race number 8? Would you go with a quartet, a swinger, or an exacta?
Yeah, I think it's a nice quartet race. Again, there's quite a bit of form to go around. It's quite a challenging card. I'm going to be relying on Port Louis, as we mentioned earlier, to get me through race 4. And in race 8, I'm very strongly in the camp of number 4, Hunting Trip. I thought last time out she might beat Distinction, but Richard was on the right one on that occasion, getting Distinction home ahead of Hunting Trip by half a length. Richard has jumped off Distinction, who's drawn in gate 1, to ride Hunting Trip. I think this is a very decent filly. It doesn't do her chances any harm that she's won her only start at Hollywoodbets Durbanville. I think she's pretty decent. I think she's probably better than an 89. I think she's going to continue to improve. She's got the right pedigree. She's out of a stakes winner by Jetmaster by Trippy. So I think 7-2 is quite generous. I understand it's a fillies and mares race, and I understand there's many with good form in the race, but I just think Hunting Trip might yet to turn out to be something quite special. But there's no doubt. Distinction, What a State, Shantastic, Miss Greenlight will make a run all the way to the line. Shantastic has flopped twice at this course, but I'm not too sure we can read anything into that. Maybe she's better down the straight. Distinction, in good form, clearly has a chance. What a State, Adam Marcus's stable has turned the corner in a big way and only has the one runner on the card. What a State is well drawn. So, she's also won at the course, so it's competitive. But you've got to, as you say, sometimes you've got to nail your colours to the mast. You've got to go with your gut feeling, what your eye tells you. And I think this filly Hunting Trip has still got a lot of improvement to come, and I'm happy to banker her. So if you're taking your quartets, you can banker her to win. If you're taking your place accumulators, you can banker her in the last leg, as far as I'm concerned, and even put her forward as a suggested pick 6 banker. Maybe jackpot 2 you cover her. But pick 6 banker, I'm going to be relying a lot on Hunting Trip. I think she could be something quite special.
Well, thanks very much, Graham. To Graham Hawkins on the line, always very knowledgeable. We thank you very much for your input, as to all the punters, and hopefully Port Louis and going on to hunting trip. Hopefully they can do the business for all the punters and us out there. So thanks very much, Graham, for all of your selections today.
Thank you, Sheldon. As always, a pleasure chatting to you.
Thanks very much to Graham Hawkins on the line for the Hollywoodbets Durbanville meeting. Best of luck to all the punters out there. Have a wonderful day's racing. And now we leave it up to the horses, the trainers and the riders.